Hello everybody, thank you so much for joining me again today. Yola is my name. Welcome to Hala. Hala is a place where we share things that smart people have already said. A lot of smart people around the world have had to debate which one is better between a product-based business and a service-based business. It's a controversial topic. Today, I hope to bring clarity to you, and especially for those people who are looking to go into entrepreneurship and have not quite figured out which area they want to go into. I want to bring clarity to you. We want to talk about the advantages and the disadvantages, and we're going to talk about which one is going to get you to your first million faster. Join me as we proceed. Now, let's start by defining what these terms are. I mean, for some people, they don't even have an idea what I'm talking about. So let's start from service-based businesses. Let's define these terms. Service-based businesses are mostly one-man businesses, right? And they involve a lot of soft skills. So you could talk about web design, graphics design, and things in that category, right? All of those soft skills you use for freelancing, those are basically service-based businesses. Now, the reason they're called service-based businesses is because you have to be present. If not, the client is not going to be happy. You have to dedicate your time to pull off the service for the client, right? That's why they're service-based businesses, because you're rendering a service. Those are what service-based businesses are. But then, not just soft skills, there are also offline service-based businesses. And when you talk about that, you want to talk about those in business consultancy. I mean, you have to actively consult for the person, right? So you have to be there. You're providing a consultation service. You want to also talk about therapists. They are providing a service where they actively have to be there with you one-on-one, right? So these are service-based businesses. Your businesses that you often have to exchange your time for the value of the money that the client is bringing in. Product-based businesses, on the other hand, involves you producing products. And an example of this, I have my notes here. I just want to share with you. If you Google product-based businesses, the first page of Google is going to give you really interesting answers. And what you're going to see are things like consumer products, like hygiene and clothing. I mean, tailoring and people who produce products. So you could also talk about those who make products for like skincare, hair care products and stuff. Hygiene, you produce soaps, you produce stuff, right? You produce metals, you produce minerals, and also for agricultural businesses. They are product-based businesses because you have to go to the farm and then you do all those things, and then you come out with a product at the end of the day. So agricultural businesses are product-based businesses, and you also have those who produce the gadgets that we use today, technology, right? So those who produce the phones, the cameras, the laptops, and all these gadgets all around, they are all product-based businesses. Now that we have the distinction between product-based businesses and service-based businesses, I want to talk about the advantages of both really quickly. Let's start from service-based businesses. Now, for service-based businesses, the advantages are really amazing. The first advantage of a service-based business is that they're very easy to start. It's basically a one-man business. You have a skill, you start a service or a business around it, right? So you learn web design, or you learn mobile app development, or you learn a lot of things. And you just basically start rendering a service for that expertise or that skill that you have. So they are easy to start. That's the first advantage of running a service-based business. The second advantage I want to talk about is you can easily gain intangible skills. So if you learn video editing, the skill doesn't go away, right? So you have that skill, and it's a skill that even if you change industry, you can employ part of this skill or certain aspects of the skill that are relevant in solving problems and challenges you meet in other industries, right? So that's another advantage of it. And one of the major advantages with a service-based business, which I think is even one of the biggest, is that it's easy to monetize, and it's also easy for you to branch off into other areas. For instance, you can productize your skill. We're going to talk about that more later, right? And so you can productize your skill. You could also, while you're rendering the skill, rendering the service built around your skill, you could also provide a consultation service by the side. So it's easy to monetize several things around your skill when you're running a service-based business. The disadvantages with running a service-based business, I want to point out just one, and this one is really key. Most times, people who run service-based businesses do not scale, and the reason is you get really comfortable. People who do service-based businesses usually start early in life. I mean, maybe from the university days, or even maybe a little bit before then, right? So they start earning a bit of money, and they have a bit of financial freedom, so to say, to meet their basic needs. And you find that most people get stuck at that level and do not grow because they can meet their basic needs. In the event that they grow a little, it's just a bit of room to allow them meet the new needs and the new challenges that life is throwing at them. So people who run service-based businesses, as one of the disadvantages or the major disadvantage is that they remain at a subsistence level. They remain at a level where they are able to provide for themselves and for their immediate, maybe family or their immediate needs. So the need to expand or grow, or the drive to grow, usually is missing when people run service-based businesses. Now, it's not the case for everybody, but it's a major disadvantage, and that's why you often see that for economies like ours, you have a lot of people who are doing stuff on their own. They're selling on Instagram, they're selling on their WhatsApp status, and all those things, and they're not really growing. That's because it's the disadvantage that a service-based business boxes you into. It gives you just enough to be able to survive, meet your basic needs, and maybe once in a while you can afford one or two luxuries, but you don't really feel the need to scale up. That's because you're in a comfortable position. That's what service-based businesses can do to you. It puts you in your comfort zone, something you should avoid. Now let's proceed to the advantages of a product-based business. One of the easiest and most fantastic thing about running a product-based business, which is a major advantage, is that it's easy to make money. A lot of people have needs every day, and you need products to meet those needs. So you have challenges with your hair. You need a hair care product, right? You go out every day. You need to be able to take care of your skin, so you need skincare products. These are product-based businesses, and so if there is a product that meets a need at the right price point, it's easy for you to start selling, right? You start selling immediately. Even though product-based businesses usually have a lot of competition, you also see that in the industry, if you're meeting a specific need, it's easy to start racking up sales. So that's a major advantage. It's easy to monetize, especially if you throw in a bit of money at Facebook and Instagram, and then you run some adverts, you could rack up sales really easily. So another advantage is it unlocks your creativity and your problem-solving skills. Now, the reason for this is that a lot of the times when running a product-based business, you're going to run into challenges. If you're doing a service-based business, more of the skills and more of the tools required are in your control. But when you're doing a product-based business, which is we'll get into the disadvantages shortly, is that a lot of the things required for you to get your job done resides or is in the control of another person, right? So when you face challenges, you also get to develop people management skills and time management skills, right? As a product-based business person. So these are skills that you will develop, and that's an advantage. You get to know how to talk with people, connect with people, and build sustainable relationships as well, because everything that you need, or almost everything that you need, is in the hands of someone else. Now let's talk about the disadvantages of a product-based business. One question you want to ask yourself if you're running a product-based business is, what stops somebody in China from cloning my product, mass producing it, and sharing it all across the market for 10 times cheaper than what I can do, right? So that's one of the challenges with running a product-based business. You are always at the risk of extinction because it can be done cheaper in China, right? So you want to answer that question always. What stops someone in China from mass producing this thing and filling up the market 10 times cheaper than what you do? Another disadvantage of running a product-based business is that it has high cost of starting and also running. So the reason for this is usually you're manufacturing stuff, right? And you're going to have to source raw materials from everywhere. So you have to buy before you can produce. You also have to, you figure out who the right supplier is. You have to figure out the right price point so you can break even or make a profit. Then you have to figure out transportation and shipping. Then you have to figure out time, maybe storage, warehousing, and all those things. So these are basic disadvantages around running a product-based business. It is that a lot of the things that you need to make your products are usually controlled by people, by outsiders, by people not directly under your control. So you need to work with an independent manufacturer or an independent seller, and you depend on logistics guys to also bring it to you in time and all those things. So those are things you factor in. And we've not talked about storage. Storage is also a major challenge. So you might have to think about warehousing and all those things. And then when you're that large, you also need to think about how you can cool down your stuff and think about preservations and all of that. So those are the basic challenges around starting or running a product-based business. Now, another challenge is this: you need to spend a lot of your time to get everything sorted. This is especially for those people who are involved in manufacturing, right? Because you get something wrong, you get an ingredient wrong, or you get the timing wrong, and a whole batch goes wrong. So you need to spend a lot of time, and that's one major disadvantage. So now that we have both the advantages and the disadvantages of product-based businesses and service-based businesses, what is the thing that stands out for you? For me, I'm going to share this with you. You cannot get rich renting out your time. Just like we talked about moments ago, for both service-based businesses and product-based businesses, you run the risk of spending a lot of time, and that's not something that you want to do. So how do you escape this and actually build a sustainable business, something that you do not have to rent out your time all of the time, right? So let's go into how you can do that. And the major way you can do that is to leverage the gift of people or leverage technology. Now, I'm going to be really quick. For you to be able to leverage technology for your service-based business, one thing you need to do is to productize your knowledge. You already know how to build a website. You have fantastic skills on starting a YouTube channel. You have strong knowledge on PowerPoint presentation and designs and all those things. What you want to do is to productize your knowledge, and the easiest way to productize your knowledge is to build a course, which you can share. So you build a course and then you sell the course, right? That way, you can keep running your service-based business, but then you have a course that you're selling. So you build it once and then you sell it 1,000 times or 10,000 times. Now, that's a major way to break away from the subsistence kind of thinking, right? So now you have the leverage or the ability to take advantage of technology to make more money. So that's a major advantage. Productize your knowledge, and the easiest way to do this is to launch a course. So if you're a cook, you want to launch a cooking course. If you're a web designer, you want to launch a web design course, and all those things. And then even simple things like graphics design and PowerPoint design, template designs, and all those things. Just create a template and you put it up for sale on Graphic River, Code Canyon, and the rest of them. Fantastic sales can come in from all those places. So that's a way to productize your knowledge. And for most skills though, you cannot easily productize them. So how do you leverage, so for instance, if you say, how do you scale up a web design business? Because it's a one-man business and you need skill. You can't just, although there are services like Wix and the other platforms that help automate the creation of websites, but if you need something unique and something really custom, those platforms can't quite handle it now. By the way, I'm for no code, so we're not going to go into that argument today. But then, if you need to be able to productize or to scale up your web design business or something that requires specific skills, then you want to leverage. This is also an advantage for the product people, product-based businesses, and that's what I was going to talk about next. But then you need to leverage the skill or the gift of people. You need to hire the right people and get out of their way so they can do their job. So what you want to do is to hire people and start an agency, and that way you can move up the chain, right? So, your task is now focused on getting more customers for the business, while you've hired experts in place to be able to do the job when it comes in, right? So that applies both for product-based businesses and service-based businesses. So for product-based businesses, the last one applies, the last advice applies. You should be able to leverage the gift of people. right? Hire people and then they do all of the work, and then you don't have to be the one actively spending your time to get all those things produced, right? So now you have people, and a major way, even though it's more capital intensive, but when you grow and you're able to, then one way, one of the things you need to leverage is to leverage machines, right? So you need to be able to buy one or two machines, big stuff that can automate the process of production, and maybe selling, packaging, maybe all those things. So those are big machines, and then they do cost a lot of money, but that's the way that you will be able to escape the challenge of selling your time for money. I hope I've been able to bring a bit of clarity for you in this topic. And if you're just starting out and you're still torn between choices of starting a product-based business or a service-based business, I'm available to walk you through it. Let's sit down and talk about it and see where you would most fit. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for joining us today. Stay ahead in business by following Hal's Daily Insights.